Arrived in South Korea, marking the first official state visit by a sitting U.S. president in 25 years. He will be holding crunch talks with President Moon Jae-in, with the main topic on the agenda being the North Korea nuclear situation. But first, he is currently visiting a U.S. military base. To tell us more about his visit, we now connect with Kwon Jang-ho at the Foreign Ministry. Jang-ho, how has President Trump's arrival been marked?
Good afternoon, Down. So, President Trump arrived safe and sound in South Korea about an hour and a half ago. Now, as you mentioned, there have been several U.S. presidents who have visited South Korea over the past few years, but this is the first formal state visit in 25 years. Now, that means laying out the red carpet and an honor guard to greet him. Kang Kyung-hwa, the foreign minister, was also there to shake hands and greet him personally. He then promptly hopped aboard Marine One, the president's helicopter that has been specially brought in from the US, and he traveled to Camp Humphreys, a US military base about 60 kilometers south of Seoul. However, he was also met with a surprise welcome by President Moon Jae-in at Camp Humphreys after an unannounced change to the schedule. They met with American and South Korean troops and shared lunch with them at the military canteen. They'll be on their way to the Blue House in Seoul soon, where a welcoming ceremony will take place, as you mentioned earlier, before official talks begin.
Well, the two will begin discussions soon, and anticipation is high over what will come out of those talks. What can we expect?
Well, first, the message they'll want to send is of a strong South Korea-US alliance and cooperation on the North Korean nuclear situation. Now, they're likely to reiterate their stance of a strong sanctions and pressure. But Moon Jae-in is looking to encourage dialogue as well, while President Trump is said to have agreed with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe that now is not the time for dialogue. But despite this difference, Trump only this morning described Moon on Twitter as a quote, fine gentleman, and said, "We will figure it all out." So there seems to be a positive tone to this visit. After the talks, the two presidents will hold a joint press conference together, and later in the evening, there will also be a lavish state dinner. Back to you, Dan.
The presidential Blue House has been preparing for this visit by U.S. President Donald Trump for some time now. We're now just moments away from the official welcome ceremony at Seoul's presidential palace. Let's go live to our chief Blue House correspondent, Moon Kon-young. Kon-young, is the Blue House up and ready for this ceremony?
Well, Taeun, I would say so. President Moon Jae-in's Blue House is fully ready to host its first foreign head of state and, of course, the first U.S. president to make a visit to South Korea on a state visit in a quarter century. Now, the Blue House, time and time again, had reiterated that it will do all it can to ensure America's first couple see and feel due welcome here in South Korea. And the first gesture of heartfelt welcome, of course, came, as you just saw, previously at the U.S. Air Base or Army Base, Camp Garrison Humphreys, about 60 kilometers south of Seoul. Now, the South Korean leader went out there himself to greet the U.S. president himself. This is the first time that the South Korean president had gone out to a U.S. Army base to greet a U.S. president, and the Blue House explains that this was designed to underscore the ironclad South Korea-U.S. alliance, which is one of the agenda items that are expected to take center stage when the two leaders sit down for a one-on-one later in the Blue House this afternoon. Now, in a bit while from now, it's about 10 past 2 here in Seoul, and it was expected that at 2:30 an official welcome ceremony will kick off here at the Blue House. And you might be wondering, why the official ceremony here at the Blue House and not upon arrival at the OSAN Air Base, unlike previous U.S. presidents? And that's because this is a state visit. There are a number of differences, especially in protocol, between different categories of diplomatic visits. And because U.S. President Trump is coming to Seoul on a state visit, the official welcome ceremony will take place here at the Blue House. Now, we are also getting word from Camp Humphreys right now that that schedule will be pushed back a little bit because the two leaders are still having lunch at Camp Humphreys, and their itinerary there is being delayed a little bit. So the official welcome ceremony here at the Blue House will be delayed by a bit. And of course, Arirang TV will be bringing you a live coverage of that, and our Handaeun will be bringing you a live coverage of that as well. Now, that will be followed by a one-on-one between Mr. Moon and Trump, a third of its kind since the two took office. That will be followed by an expanded bilateral summit and then later on a joint press conference. And of course, we'll bring you updates on that as they happen. Taeun? you.